Welcome everyone to another episode of Starmade. Oh yes. In today's episode, obviously we want to continue on the planet, on our mothership, on our projects. If we get to it, there's also a few other things, some side projects that I would like to start. Now, a lot of you guys have brought me suggestions that I really like, so continue with bringing suggestions. I read all of the comments, and most of them that require some kind of an answer, I actually do answer, so don't feel discouraged on leaving comments on my videos. The other thing is that some of you guys mentioned that this segment looks weird in contrast to all the other ones, and there's something I haven't told you yet because I want to make it as secret as possible what I actually have in mind with this planet. I already told you about some of the visions that I had, but there's maybe one thing I should mention. This is not the only segment that we are gonna carve out. I will make the transitions between the segments as smooth as possible. Obviously, it is not 100% possible because the blocks are oriented in a different way, but it is still possible to make it look a little less ugly. Right now, of course, it looks a little bit out of place, this segment. Now, unfortunately, there's one thing that we will have to do, and that is raising the floor by at least one block, because the level that I have it right now is not able to recognize the raycast of the player. That's why I cannot really interact with some of the blocks. I'm not sure why it works for others and some not, but we have to definitely raise this floor. So that's the first thing we're gonna do right now. Okay guys, so I started to raise the floor by one level because I don't want to destroy all of the structures. I also at some point still want to be able to see the core, but this bug, this raycasting bug where I cannot place blocks is awfully unspecific. I do not see a pattern. This is the area where I just cannot place any blocks. I placed them mostly with a 10 by 50 thingy-majingy right here, as you can see, but like these are all of the blocks that I can place. Nothing else will work. So maybe I just thought I would show this to you so you don't necessarily make the same mistake, and maybe also Schema X, who actually knows about the code, can make something out of that, because that appears to be a little bit weird. But what I also figured out is that we can actually place a layer yet on top of that, and from this point on it doesn't seem to be an issue anymore. So that means we have to raise the floor by 2 blocks. I really hoped I could avoid this just because I have so many structures yet on the planet, and also as you can see, 2 layers is already enough to make this graphical glitch go away, so we cannot see the core anymore shining through with only 2 layers. So that's a shame. We're gonna have to stick with 3 layers. So what I'm gonna do is actually leave this tower just the way it is. We're also gonna leave this flooring, we're gonna leave everything right here, but we're gonna raise the grass layer by yet another block, which is gonna be a real pain. I don't even finish the second layer at this point. What we're gonna do is, obviously, that's what I should have done from the beginning, set a symmetry plane. So time to raise the floor by yet another layer. Funny story, guys. I actually ran out of grass blocks. So I thought I had 100,000 of grass blocks. So already in today's episode, and we are not even in the middle of the episode, I have already placed 100,000 of blocks. So let's get as much grass as possible back. And if we cannot finish it today, then we cannot finish it today. I might have to take apart yet another of those segments in order to get into the green numbers with my grass blocks. See what I did there? Never mind. But anyways, I now have a good feeling about the whole situation. 3 blocks up, that's definitely what we are gonna go for. That also gives us the possibility to still do some contrast with the flooring to make some patterns, make some pathways and put them actually inside the ground. We have now access to the ground. I can always replace that flooring, which is great. There's not much to go, so let's try to take things apart here a little bit. Grass is the new gold. Okay, there we go. So I just collected another 3,731 blocks, which is not enough. You think it's gonna be enough to finish off this one here? I actually highly doubt it. But let's get back into build mode, snatch this up to 50-50, and just in case you're wondering, I sped the previous footage up by 12 times the speed. So right now I clicked, we have to wait for a long time because it is trying to place a 50 by 50 layer of blocks, and it does that with 2 symmetry planes active. I think it's placing about 1,000 blocks. And of course it does have to do some calculations, and this is what I'm doing basically. I do one click and this is the most ironic thing that happened to me today. So we undo that and we actually choose the right kind of block now, and we wait for another 20 to 30 seconds. Alright guys, so what we are gonna do now is not work on the mothership for today. I also want to start a bunch of smaller projects. For today's episode, I thought we could make a small little ship that we later on also probably are gonna park somewhere in the mothership. But it's gonna be some kind of an explorer with minor defenses and just a bunch of modules that we would like to try out. It is primarily gonna be an explorer so that I can be agile in space, check out a bunch of the other planets, my surroundings, and just, you know, do the usual stuff. So let's get right to it. Guys, you need to check this out. I just packed my things for a long journey towards the shop, and look at this. Hello, that's my planet. Isn't that insane? We have like a shop that is really ours, at least most of the time. It is really close to the planet. I mean, this segment is not even a kilometer away. That's just crazy, insane, I like it. Right, so what do we want in the shop? Obviously we want to have a bunch of ship parts ready for ourselves. What do we already have? We have power modules, those are gonna be enough. We have some thrusters, we are gonna need more. We're definitely gonna need the one or the other weapon systems, we're gonna combine it. What I want to achieve is actually a ship that has, you know, a small firepower, but a rapid one. So we want some antimatter cannons that shoot really fast. So we need a good power management. Of course, we're also gonna need a bunch of shields. So let's see what we can buy. Now, a really nice thing to have would be a cloaker for a small ship. So in case we are getting stuck with pirates, we could easily escape. But for the time being, I think I'm just gonna rely on the speed of my ship. We're gonna make a really speedy ship. So let's buy a bunch of shield capacitors. I believe about 100 should be good for now. We're also gonna buy at least 2 cockpits. So let's get to the cannons. We obviously want one of those weapons computers. One is gonna be enough. We're gonna buy about 500 of those cannons. Eventually we're gonna need them anyway. We still have about 500,000 credits left, so that is good. So let's go ahead and check out the effects tab. Right, so I quickly had to check on the wiki again what you actually have to combine to get what effects, and of course it's 2 of the main systems. So I think we're gonna go with another beam, right? So there's a damage beam computer that we're gonna buy, and we're also gonna buy a bunch of those damage beam modules. And if we set the antimatter cannon as the primary weapon, then the damage beam should have the effect that it is a rapid fire instead of this slow thing that we would be getting otherwise. So let's say we're also going to buy about 100 of those guys. Right, so I think we are ready to actually start designing the ship. So this is my transportation ship. We can theoretically take this apart if we wanted, but I think I'm just gonna go a little bit to the side and we're gonna try to create another ship. This one is gonna be a Nathan Explorer, right? Something like that, it doesn't really matter. We go inside, hit the build mode, and we are going to start with a normal setup for our power modules. Obviously we also want to set a symmetry plane, so let's do the Y set plane. Okay, so if you have been with me for a while, you know I like to design small ships in a similar fashion. So for instance, we want to make our reactor, this is going to be the rear, and we have our reactor design somewhat like this. And with this setup we get a nice recharge rate. It's already 6,500 energy per second only doing this. Now as for the power modules, you just have to be careful how you place them. Don't place stuff in between two edges. So I already formed two edges of a square, as you can see here, or a rectangle. And by placing blocks in the square, you just screw your whole thing up. So as you can see, 6,155. If I place two blocks, we end up having 100 energy more recharge per second, but if I placed the same two blocks right here, we already have 6,863 energy recharge. So it does actually matter a lot. Our Explorer is not going to be too high, maybe about 6 blocks in height, and we are also going to expand it a little bit towards this side. There we go. So now we almost have 10,000 energy recharge rate, and you can see I have basically one reactor right here, another one right here, another one right here, one right here. Then we also have one right here, 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 and here, if you get my drift. There is a lot of rectangles that I formed using this structure, which results in a lot of energy with just these few blocks. Next up, obviously, we also want to place a bunch of shields. This ship is not primarily gonna be a shield ship, it is gonna be an escape ship, an explorer ship, so we only are supposed to maybe take a bunch of punches from an enemy force before it will break apart. So we're gonna stick with a small amount of shield dispersers, or capacitors in this case, I think they renamed it, to form some kind of a platform. So right here there's going to be an entrance, and actually we should have thought about this, so I'm gonna go back into the shop and we're gonna buy ourselves a bunch of, let's see, where is that? I think in the generals tab we have the plex doors. They only have 37 plex doors, but what we're gonna do is have a plex door somewhat like this. Yeah, that's gonna be fine, and we're gonna have let's actually make some more contrast using a gray hull for the time being. So that's going to be fine, and we can even have something in the middle right here so it doesn't look as ugly. On the sides here there's going to be two drives and maybe a small one on the back as well. And of course towards the front we're gonna have all of our weapon systems. Now the core right here should be secured a little bit better, so what we're gonna do is probably end up creating a cockpit around this core so it is protected as good as possible. So let's see, we want to encase the core from 3 different sides. We want to go a little bit more to the front, and we want something like that. Next up, I'm gonna grab my cockpit and we're gonna place that right here. Right now, of course, all the wedges are missing, but again, for smaller ships I like to go with functionality first, then looks later, which is pretty much the opposite from what I'm doing with the mothership. Okay, then it's time to think about our weapon systems. We are gonna place our cannon's computer right here, and we're also going to place damage beam computer right beneath it. Now they're facing into the other direction, which actually might be a little bit ugly in the end, so I'm not going to place them right there just yet. So what we can do is theoretically attach them nearby the core so we have everything together. And damage beam computer, I had the wrong computer chosen, but there we go. We have now 2 computers which are not yet showing up in the weapons tab, and maybe we need to add a bunch of modules first. We have the damage beam modules. obviously that is gonna go right on top of here. There we go, something like that. Now we want to select our weapons computer and we're gonna add our antimatter cannons. One cannon is gonna go right here. Yeah, something like that. Oh yeah, guys, it's coming along. I can see where I actually want to go with this. So what we can have is actually a bunch more shields all the way up to here, and then we're gonna start forming the hull beneath it. Obviously I want some different texture on it, but for now we're just gonna go with black, and then we're gonna make the different colors and patterns that we want. So we want to basically fill up all of the flooring just like that, and of course that makes a really flat impression, but obviously we want to change that sooner or later, because down below here we're gonna add yet another cannon. So let's see, we want to go maybe something like that, and we bring it all the way to the front just like that. Great, so now we just have to make sure that things are looking niftily. Also we have to make sure that we can actually combine those things together. So we want the support to be the beam computer, just like that. Now actually before we do that, can I disable that? Never mind, let's go inside the flight mode and check out how fast we can actually do this. Yeah. Okay, so that's about, I don't know, maybe 3 seconds or so that we have to wait. So that is definitely not what we want. So the reason for that might be that we don't have enough beams. So what we are gonna do is check out if this is actually making it faster or not. It still seems to be about the same speed. Okay, so just to make sure, I'm gonna make this as long as I can. Okay, so now we have a really long array, and I just... Oh, please stop! Don't go away! I loved you! Okay, never mind. Let's see. No, it still seems to be about the same speed. So now I'm a little bit confused. But what we are gonna do is finish designing this ship, and maybe you guys know what I have done wrong. Okay guys, so what I actually ended up doing is combining my antimatter cannons with some D1000 missiles, and the effect is that it kind of splits apart into several beams from the looks of it, and we also have a considerably short cooldown from the looks of it. At the moment I have made it just like so. Obviously for testing purposes we want to take apart some of this right here. We still want it to be the longest segment of the ship, and then we want to add a bunch of blocks right here. But of course before we do that we have to select the right machinery again. So there we go. Okay. So that seems to be fine. What we can do now is actually start building up the hull, and after that whatever space we have left we can fill up with energy and shields. And there we go, we have reached stage 2 of the build, where I basically put hulls everywhere, and now we are gonna try to come up with a bunch of patterns. We're gonna try to close everything off so that we have an interior, and we're also gonna try to make a little cockpit. Okay guys, so I think I'm more or less done with the shapes. As usual, I went with too many colors. I will have to back up with the yellow, I believe. Also, this yellow doesn't look as good as I think it could, but that might just be the texture pack. Nevertheless, we now have a functioning ship. I will still have to wedge up the bottom, but I want to get this episode to an end because the episode is already running a little bit long. Yeah, so we'll definitely have to cut off one color, so I think I'm gonna get rid of the yellow. I do like the shapes. It's a little bit unconventional, but it does look like a nice fighter slash explorer ship. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little video nearby my planet with a beautiful sun. And other than that, have a great time, and hopefully I'm gonna catch you the next time. Bye bye.